My name is Rachel. I'm 32 years old, and for a long time, life felt like I was on a treadmill set to a pace I couldn't keep up with. Every day was the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. I worked at a marketing agency, a job I once loved but had grown to resent. I was good at my job, but it no longer brought me joy. Just deadlines and anxiety. My friendships had thinned out over the years, and my small apartment in the city felt more like a cage than a home. I thought I could manage this emptiness, but life has a way of pushing you further when you're already on the edge. It was a bitterly cold December morning when my boss called me into his office. I still remember the sound of his voice, carefully rehearsed to sound empathetic. "Rachel," he began, "I'm afraid we have to make some difficult decisions. The company's restructuring, and unfortunately, your position is being eliminated." His words landed like a physical blow. I felt my chest tighten as I tried to process what he was saying. "I'm sorry," he added, but the apology felt hollow. I nodded, thanked him for the opportunity, because what else was I supposed to say? And left the office with a box of my things and a knot of fear in my stomach. By the time I got home that evening, the initial shock had worn off, leaving behind a crushing wave of despair. My job wasn't just a job. It was my sense of identity, my financial security, my routine. Without it, I felt unmoored. As I made my way home through the crowded city streets, the noise of rush hour seemed to fade. Everything felt distant. I stopped at the bridge I crossed every day and leaned on the railing, staring at the icy water below. I felt like a failure. For the first time in my life, I allowed myself to think the unthinkable. What if I just let go? Would anyone notice? Would it even matter? Tears blurred my vision, and the cold air stung my cheeks. That's when I felt a hand on my shoulder. Startled, I turned around. She stood there, a woman with kind eyes and a calm presence that somehow broke through the storm in my mind. She was in her mid-40s, wearing a long black coat and a vibrant red scarf that seemed to defy the dreariness of the evening. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. I quickly wiped my tears and nodded, forcing out a weak, "Yeah, I'm fine." She didn't move. She didn't believe me. "Fine people don't cry on bridges," she said simply, leaning on the railing beside me. Her words hit me hard. I don't know why, but I started talking. Maybe it was the loneliness, or maybe it was the way she seemed so genuinely concerned. I told her about losing my job, about feeling like a failure, about the isolation that seemed to consume me. She listened without interrupting, her expression warm and understanding. When I finally stopped, she looked out at the water and said, "You know, I used to stand on a bridge just like this one, 10 years ago. I felt exactly the way you feel right now." I blinked at her in disbelief. This woman, who seemed so composed and confident, had once felt like me. What changed? I asked, genuinely curious. She smiled. "A stranger. Talked to me, told me I mattered. It's amazing what a little kindness can do, isn't it? Sometimes all we need is for someone to remind us." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small card, handing it to me. "I run a community center a few blocks from here. We're always looking for volunteers. Come by tomorrow, if you can. No pressure. If nothing else, it'll give you something to do." Before I could say anything, she smiled at me. I looked at the card. Her name, Emma Dawson, was printed neatly on the card, along with the center's address. She gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder and walked away, leaving me with her words echoing in my mind. Kindness can change everything. The next morning, I found myself standing outside the community center. I wasn't sure why I came. Part of me wanted to turn around and forget the whole thing, but Emma's kindness the night before had stirred something in me, a flicker of hope I hadn't felt in years. When I stepped inside, I was greeted by the warmest atmosphere I'd ever experienced. Children laughed in one corner, volunteers sorted clothes in another, and the air buzzed with a sense of purpose. Emma spotted me almost immediately. "Rachel, you came." She introduced me to the team and gave me a task, helping in the food pantry. It wasn't glamorous work, but as I packed boxes of canned goods, I felt something shift inside me. I was doing something that mattered. It was the first time in a long time that I felt useful. Days turned into weeks, and the community center became a second home to me. I met people from all walks of life, each with their own struggles and triumphs. Emma became a mentor and a friend, her calm wisdom guiding me through my darkest moments. Emma and I grew close, and she shared pieces of her own story with me. She told me about losing her husband to cancer, raising 2 kids on her own, and fighting to keep the community center running despite constant financial struggles. One evening, as we were sorting donations, Emma handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it," she said with a mischievous smile. Inside was an acceptance letter to a non-profit leadership program. "I applied for you," she said casually. "I hope you don't mind." "Emma, I don't know if I can do this," I stammered. "You can," she said firmly. "You're stronger than you think, Rachel, and you have so much to give." Her belief in me was overwhelming. For the first time, I felt like I had a purpose. Over the next year, I threw myself into the program, and with Emma's guidance, I began to thrive. I started working full-time at the community center and even helped secure funding for a new project Emma had been dreaming of for years. One night after a particularly long day, Emma and I sat outside the center, watching the kids play. "Emma," I said, breaking the silence, "you saved my life." She turned to me, her eyes twinkling. "No, Rachel, you saved your own life. I just gave you a little nudge." I held her hand and said, "Emma, I must say, you didn't just save my life. You gave me a reason to live, and for that, I'll always be grateful." All I could see was Emma, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Looking back, I still can't believe how close I came to giving up. Meeting Emma wasn't just a coincidence. It was a turning point. She showed me that even when life feels unbearable, there's always hope. And sometimes, Hope comes in the form of a stranger who sees you when you can't see yourself. Now, I try to be that stranger for others, because if Emma taught me anything, it's that kindness isn't a small act. It's a lifeline, and it has the power to change everything. Have you ever experienced an act of kindness that changed your life? Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories.